So today we are going to review logging and monitoring. I'm going to present, but I was not supposed to present, so bear with me. I took some notes as the classic workflow, so I have some idea that I want to share. I enjoyed the chapters. I didn't have time to do all exercise, but I tried some exercise, so maybe we can review them later. The first part of it that I really like is I write that sentences like you can control whether code will fail, it will. So I think it's around where is it? Here. So I think this is like a very important sentences that sometimes I feel other people misunderstood. Or like when you say some that's like I remember I told that to one of my previous coworkers and he took that a bit too personally. So that's why I think it's an important sentence, but it's important also like maybe to disarm it. Does not mean like your code is bad. Does not mean like your code does not what it's supposed to do. It's like to run your code, there's plenty of layers around it, and you write it in a specific context that's maybe not going to be the same context, not just like the environment context, but the data can change. A lot of it can change from your code doing something to your code not working anymore. And it's not necessarily your fault. I mean, like, it's not like trying to put the blame, like your code will fail. Like, it's all the code, even at Wecam, even the best programmers will have code that fail. That's normal. And that's, I think, like, at least I always had these behaviors. I mean, I always feel like my code could fail and try to protect it because, like, that's something like, let's say just your computing environment can change. And most frequently what changes the data. Let's say you pull the data from somewhere and the structure of data is changing. Usually your code assumes structures. This is why you try to divide it by layers like we've seen. But even by doing that, it will fail. So you need to protect yourself. This is like the first sentences by trying to log and monitors. So I will go like the authors define like logging, monitoring, and observability. Observability is looking what's happened. And usually as a near user, like if you are like, let's say I have VS Code with a very crappy function that I've built like for something. If I run it, I observe what it does. Like the observability, it's still a bit slow on my hands. So it does something. It's a bit slow because I put a sleep. And you can observe it, debug, and interact. So when you are like working interactively, you are observing the system right now. But when you run something automatically or in production, you are not right now observing it. Usually, like the first time you deploy something, you're going to do it. Like I've deployed not plenty, but enough to know like the first deployments, you can be sure I will be here. Like even if like I will monitor it or like and then after a week, 2 weeks, you forget it. But I mean, you forget it and then the code fell. So yes, that's the first observability is looking at the system, looking at what's happening. And you can do that all the time. So observability, to be able to observe something, like you need to enable it. Enabling observability is monitoring. Like it's that. And if you want to like the most common tool to monitor, like I don't know if you heard about it, is Grafana, which is basically like parse logs and produce it. Grafana. I don't know if you mentioned it. Grafana. And Grafana is a dashboard on top of Prometheus, which is like a way like to parse information that came from a servers. So centralized observability for everything, blah blah blah. And that's basically mean like when you want to go back in time, let's say like your dashboard crashed tonight, you are not monitoring it in some way. You are logging, and logging is some kind of like, I noted like it's going back in time on your monitoring. It's the ability to go back in time and try to find where it fell. Any remark on that? So observability is enabled by monitoring, and when you go back in time, it's logging. And if you do not have logging, I mean, you can monitor right now what's happening in some script. Let's say like you run some Shiny app, even like if you run like the book, let's say, what should I run? So I have like, let's go, I don't know. No. Okay, let's say like I have like this small shell script that run a Pomodoro session. Let's call it Bob, who cares? And see like it does a bunch of stuff, like it's just append to some tables, and it's gonna to start it, and we're gonna see like this is an app built with GTK, and it told me a bunch of stuff that's not working that I don't care. But it's as a developer I should care, and then it start my Pomodoro that I should start. See, and while doing that, like the process, like there's the system call that unlink this process. So that's run into the, I mean, in my shell here, but I could send into the backgrounds until like I decide to kill it, which I'm gonna stop it. It's probably gonna do have a message if it's correctly built. No. And if I close it, it's gonna also like submit a bunch of log. Let's write a bit. Let's give it a bit of time. No, apparently. Oh, because I just stopped it here. Like kids, can I? And see, no. See, on menu events, I have ID menu quit, which like we don't go too much, but here like we can see I have not written that warning. This is the people who build like this small app that I've built it. So they have a warning, and we're gonna discuss that later. This is a critical. And if I go like plenty of other app, like let's say QGIS, the same. It starts a Qt, so it's building Qt. It starts a thread, and we're gonna have like an error. Oh, my numpy is bad. Oh yeah, I know. So this is a fun because I updated GDAL, and that's it. And by the way, if I killed each shell, it killed the process in the shell. It killed the monitoring, etc. etc. And you can redirect this error. Those error are probably put somewhere by the developer somewhere. I don't know. It's probably in var in a Debian in Debian-like system. Okay. So any question around that? Like this quick snapshot of how it works and how we can visualize it. So this was monitoring in some way, and the log. Let me see. Maybe they are here. Like let me see if I can find them. It should be around here. What do I have? Log maybe. Well, I have plenty of log, but I don't think the log here. This is classic stuff from. So I don't know where the log. I should look at it. I mean, you have a lot of log like from stuff like you can D packages, my package managers, and what's interesting is like the 10 that they're gonna be like some of them are zipped at once, probably to save space, and they kind of organize like log 1, log 2, log 3, log 4. Like usually this is something like we're gonna see, but like usually log 10, it's good to organize them by day or something like that. Like have some schema. I don't know if it's organized. I have not looked at it. apt lib versus the virtual managers, Postgres. I don't find any good that I could understand right off the bat. Anyway, that was like usually in Debian you put logs in var and people decide after that where they put it. But yeah, one sentence that's in that paragraph that are important I also think. I don't know where it is, by the way. It's here. No, I don't know. So I don't know exactly what it is, but like documenting your function is on your responsibility. So it's not like, since we are in a dev, I think this is also related with the idea of DevOps, that you do the development and the operational. And since you do both, correctly logging and correctly messaging your function is on you. I don't know if you want to react to that. I don't know where it was, but I noted it. Responsibility of the data scientist, I wrote. I don't know where it is.
So Olivier, you're saying basically if you write a function, it's on you to have your function message out like the outcome or warnings or errors. Is that what you're saying?
The author is unclear on what's the on defining exactly what's your responsibility, but it's saying like it's on you. Let me control F responsibility. Response, no.
I mean, I guess maybe regardless of what the author says, like and kind of like reading this and hearing this again is it. I don't know if others feel the same way, but I feel like R doesn't really emit too many messages. It's a bit terse. It just does the thing, unless it kind of um,
Yeah, I think this is a good.
fails, right?
Yeah, yeah, I agree with.
Um, which kind of makes this whole logging thing a bit challenging, unless you write wrappers.
Yes, I agree with you. I think it's uh, yeah, because the nature of R is, I mean, not the nature of R, the idea of the of R being interactive. So you kind of are in a real pill, like you kind of in that mode, like directly like at the console, but like in the interpreters. You are not doing like you are not running R. Oops, why can't I type it? You are not doing R script to my log test script function. You are not doing that most of the time. You are mostly like most of the time you are in the interactive workflow and you are working with it. And that I said, like, because you are inside of this mindset, the observability is just you. Like you are observing what happens. Like when you type a function, something's wrong, you correct it, etc., etc. But I think there's value by adding some message sometimes. Like when I asked that question in Mastodon, like what do you use as, because like most of my workflow, I gonna use printf or print or cat to log some information. And also I use target a lot, and target is printing. It's gonna do a bit of logging. It's not much, but it's gonna say like I'm gonna run that the node, let's call it a node, target, call it another way, like this process to identify as something, I'm gonna run it and I'm gonna pass it to another process. I mean, not another process because it's not a process, it could be in the same process, it could be in different process, but like I'm gonna pass the result of it to another part of your workflow. And it's documented that way. So and you can run targets because like the similar way that I've done it, like you can just call the scripts and it's gonna log it in. It has already like this idea of logging it somewhere, so you can inspect it again by default. But it's this is more like this is different. Like if you are, for example, in Shiny app, the Shiny app is running all the time and depending on what you have added to it to monitor it and produce log. Like when my bash script, my batch script is run, it's ended. So I don't know what, I mean, it's not gonna monitor and add logs all the time. It's just doing once and maybe more if I put that in a cron in some automating work. Um, I went a bit into that, but yeah, I agree with you. I don't know what other take is. I think it take a lot to change that mindset that you are in an interactive mode and you don't need to report much to a place where you are not anymore in an interactive mode and you need to add some stuff. And then I agree with you, art does not necessarily do that well. That's maybe why we have so many loggers packages.
Yeah, I'm coming from like a Stata and a little bit SAS, where logging is like a first class citizen. I mean, whether the logs are useful or not is another issue, but at least they exist. Whereas for R, you have to. It seems like you have to do that extra work to capture the output somehow. Like that is
Yes.
like the messages and warnings and other things that maybe your functions emit.
Yeah, but like that's basically it. If you see something like, let's say like let's go in R, maybe R radiance R. Let's go with base R. Basic R. Let's say like I'm loading a library. Um, let's see, SF is a good example because SF it tell me some message at the beginning, like basically like linking to C libraries that I have behind the scene, and it tell me information. This is not exactly like it's a bit different than a message from a function because like it's a message that is loaded when I attach the package. It's an onattach, I think, function. On attach, maybe just unattach. I can't find it, maybe. Let's see, something like that. I think it's dot unattached, but I could be wrong. I will see if it's gonna find it. I don't know. It's probably gonna send me a bunch of stuff. I should have piped that. Yeah, I don't find it. Anyway, that's an but you can use message, error, and a bunch of stuff like that in R. I think we just do not use it much because and it's also probably gonna be like, oh, it's not here. I thought he was gonna discuss that, but I think it's in the other book, like the R in production that is writing. Like, see, after loading, the logging part is fairly like empty. But after that, you have error handling and debugging. So this is where like you should have like something, and we don't do that much error handling in R, but it's not because R is badly suited to it. It's just because like we are not doing it. And printing message and stuff like that. So, but I think it exists in R. It's just like we don't do it well, and there's a point where we should do it more. I wanted to mention it later, but maybe it's a good point to mention it. Chronicler are there's this package, so that's basically like wrap the function around the message. So it does like something similar. So see, like you have square roots, you have this basic function record, and you create a new function that's record square roots. And when you call record square roots, it do a bunch of stuff. And you can use that bunch of stuff to be used and to define, and then you can go back to what's the inside of it. I'll do plenty of other stuff. And at the end of the day, it can look like, if you set up correctly, with something that's look like a log. But it's basically like you are like you are wrapping the function with an extra text. So it's a way of that's funny because like most of the logging that I have seen use OOP framework, and this is purely functional programming. Does not rely on having like some kind of log somewhere. Okay, so it was a tangent. These parts, maybe Rosa want to say something about that.
No, I wanted to ask a question. When you're developing a package that uses some other packages and they have like their own way to log things and to print messages, do you always send that to the user? I mean, do you carry all the logging information that the other packages give you?
I mean, this is like okay, I'm gonna give you an answer. I think there's multiple way of doing that. One way is, for example, if you build custom objects, let's say let's be simple. Let's say something like a data frame with special attributes, or a vector with special attributes. And then if you do, for example, like a linear model, and you call the object produced by the linear model, you're gonna see like it has a lot of information inside of it that we generally don't use it. So one way of doing that is like if you build some object, is having like, and one of the common stuff that is built in a lot of object is the code that generate the object. You store the code somewhere. If you let's go like if I do, I never know what's inside of the penguin dataset, so I need to look at it, sorry. Names, I guess. I don't know what could be like a good stupid linear model with this data. Bill length with like LM, bill length, function of bill depth. I have no idea what it means, so it's probably be stupid, but that's not the point. Data equal penguin. Which is terrible way of writing. So I should have put that somewhere. Bob. Okay, so if I struct Bob, see, I have like plenty of stuff here. And one of the stuff is probably the call somewhere. Here, see, you have the call. So one way, this is another way of logging. Like, I mean, you could interest, and it's if I kill my session, it's gonna die. I mean, the object is generated in memory, but it stores a lot of information. So one way to answer your question, if you build a package, depending on what the package do, maybe like building some specific structures where you store your information that you can rely on is a good idea. And you can make some, you don't need to have like that complexity. You know, it's store like the coefficient, usually like what you care is the coefficient, the residual, and it's go like, yeah, the environment. I mean, it's I've been built around this kind of stuff, so it's very complete here. See, it's even like tell you like does it omit something. So that's another way of doing it. Now, if you build something like a Shiny services, obviously you're gonna build some logging, but I'm not like a huge Shiny user, so maybe Humor can give you like some information. It's depends on what you build on your package, and what kind of package are you building?
Something just with data.
I mean, then we're gonna discuss a bit like then maybe you should consider some message, you know, because the message you can suppress them.
Mm-hmm.
And if user does not want them, they can either like have an option in their profile that suppress all the message, or you can have some warnings. This is up to you. Like I have not enough confidence to give you specific advice because it's really depend of your use case. And
Okay.
but yeah, using like if I want to do like some bad stuff with SF, let's say like I want to calculate some distances between points that are in fact that report angles, like latitude, longitude are in angles in some way. There are degrees of different. There are degrees versus some origins. If I do that, SF gonna tell me like, look, you are trying to calculate an Euclidean distance between stuff that are not distances. Are you sure you want to do that? Sometimes and yeah, like this is like, how do you want to interact? How do you want your users of the package, like what's the way of doing it? And some package will, you know, they will do the, like, let's say like in this use case, oh, I see that I have like this coordinate represented system in that long. I'm going to convert it automatically, calculate the Euclidean distance, reconvert it back and give you like an answer in meters or whatever. Like this is another way of doing it also without telling the users. I don't know which one is best. Like people have huge opinion on that. I'm not enough.
Okay, okay, no, thank you. Yeah, I didn't know that it depended that much on the like on the use case. Okay.
I think it depends much of the use case. No, I don't know what others have to say. No idea. Well, let's go back. But at least the author of the book said like you should document. I mean, you should, when your function is running, and he is giving example that we can review later. Is giving example of what you should check and log. So maybe that will help later. Here, I think it's important to define correctness. And I think one of the tech, I mean, there's multiple tech, but like what does correct mean is different if you are, for example, and it's different to test it at different level and to be like confident that it's correct on various layers. And he said, like, for example, like the layers, the graphical layers is hard to test and define what's correct. And I think this is true. Usually, like when you test an app, like you have framework like Beautiful Soup that allow you to automate some testing on the app, like, but usually like it's harder, like you need to click on that. If I click on that, I need to have this list needs to be popped. Like if you do a Shiny app, I don't know, like you want, if you sometimes you have a checklist of like, I want to click on this menu should return a categorical stuff. This is harder to test, like because like it will also depend on the browsers, it will depend on a bunch of stuff. So all that's correct is defined depend of the layers. And like, let's say if you have a pipelines and or my crappy like example here, like I want, where is it here? Like I want to see like a PID. I want to see sleep appear 3 times and maybe another times. And I can test that in my log. I can like, this is easier to test than a web interface. And if I produce data, let's say I can summarize some data from somewhere, or I pull some data, I expect my table to have a specific amount of dimension. It should be have X column and Y row. This is also something easy to test and to log. Like, I mean, does not necessarily mean to test. You have this idea, like that's called sometimes like defensive programming, where you say like, look, I supposed to have a string here. Do I have a string here? If not, stop. Or do I have like a table that says like 10 row, I'm saying something stupid, and 5 columns. If I have not, stop. And if you have, sure, go ahead. So this is another way of doing it. But here, see, like defining the number of rows, defining the number of columns is easy. Testing if a menu works correctly take more times. I don't know, like checking the dimension of join is something that the author mentioned. I think this is very useful and I do it all the time. Depending on the type of join, you're supposed to have a specific amount of a row. And depending on the join, you're supposed also to have a specific numbers of column, depending on you specify it, depending on the type of join, depending of the data, etc., etc. So I think this is one of the example I give. Like I do it personally a lot in pipeline, and I just print like I generated this table and I'm not messaging it in my case. Usually I stop it. So it's look like you can I think it's n row that tests the number of row and n call that test, and you can just do it, and you can do like if and if true go away, if true false. I mean, you can just test like that. It's probably like there's probably better framework of doing it, but usually I do it by hand. Checking recording of categorical variable. This one is also one you mentioned. I think this is something that I do, but not enough. Let's say like you have like, because I usually am this mind suits well, but I feel all the time that doing like some kind of recording is tricky, because sometimes you record with ensemble. Like the basic idea is like you should have sets when you record, and the set shouldn't overlap. If the set are overlapping, you are messing up your logic of recording, because like they should be like what you are mapping through. Let's say like if you have like carrots, if you have carrots, tomatoes, potatoes, they're all vegetables. But what you do if you have a category that's also fruit, because tomato can also be like a fruit. So this is bad category of matching. This is obviously a stupid example, but you can have like, you should be mindful when you do that by testing. Look, and this is super easy. You can build like a stupid test function, a dummy data set, and test our logic. Or usually I work like, I do my sets on papers and testing. Look, this go here, this go here. If this is, and where people, I think like I have seen more error is when you have a logic which is like, took me all of them above a certain limit, and then they miss like the equals parts. because like all of their stuff is greater or equal, it's greater or, and never greater or equal. And then you miss the equal, and then you have some data that are not labeled. So I think this is a good example. I mean, this is a good stuff to test. And then he mentioned very quickly like the goodness of it if you deploy some kind of model. I think he didn't go too much into it because like there's a lot of goodness of it is like, yeah, it's a lot. It's the goodness of it of the prediction, the goodness of it of the model. I don't know. Any remark, question about that? I think we went all of them. Oh, there's another part of it like that we can discuss also. And by the way, like testing if you have unique ID, testing if the join is done correctly, I think SQL does that correctly most of the time. That's why you should use generating. In SQL, this is called constraint. You can put constraint on some tables. Let's say like this column should have only integers or signed integers. No, not signed integers. This should be a unique ID. And if you have multiple replication, like this is bad. So SQL does a good job of doing a lot of data quality on join and stuff like that. Any remark on the stuff like a job output should include? You mentioned that that's included in job outputs. Or do you have experience doing it on it?
For GitHub Actions, I've only tried just print statements. And that works out generally. If there's an error, I can check what went wrong.
Yeah, I'm using print statements a lot. Like there's no shame I'm using them. Like and I'm surprised. I mean, I think he mentioned that like even if using print, even if you use print statement, you are already way above the curve of people who are not using it. It's already better than nothing, and it's already way better.
Right.
So that's one of my take.
One question, I guess, for like our users amongst us, and I think most of us are probably among other things. Is there a way for print and cat statements to kind of return to the new line? I find myself doing like having basically like, cat some message and then include the new line in there so that when it comes out to the console, it's like there's a new line. I've always been kind of perplexed how things seem to like concatenate within the line when I'm logging stuff. I don't know if that makes sense.
I mean, a lot of time you can just use like the /n. I use the /n a lot, but I for some reason I remember like there is like maybe it's in cat. I thought one of these two functions has a way like to always return to a line, but I can't find it now.
Yeah, I'll have to look for it. I've taken to using like CLI's what is it? Alert warning info.
I think glue is
'Cause it does the right thing and it looks pretty.
yeah. Also, like there's some things that I don't do enough is like I'm not using glue enough. Glue is the package, but I think glue has also maybe something I don't know. Was it in cat or was it in print? Maybe it's in print. Let me read correctly because I think one of them. We can post that later in chat when I found it, but can even justify it. Sure.
Yeah, sorry. I just figured that might be a shared pain point.
Yeah, I think print is the one that prints the line and cut those. I think so.
Yeah, we should. I'm reading it. The detail. The default method print default has its own page. Okay. So it's print differently according to the object you have. Okay. Print table for printing tables. Let's see like if I do methods print. Let's see. Maybe it will be here. Oh dang. Will be print text, print string. I don't know which one would be. So should I filter that? ST print string, Scala, STL, summary STU. No, I don't know. We should look like later. But yeah. Yeah. Sorry, I don't know the good answer. Then you go into like observing operation. He recommend loggers, but after like I investigate a bit, apparently like it seems like loggers is not that much used, and you should use instead this logger, but not log4her. So this one. Both of them are built on top of the same library. They are built on top of log4j. And that's it. I think my tech is lot of tools are OOP. So they want to have like a logging object, and the logging objects have methods, and those methods facilitate what you can do. I didn't have time to explore too much, but what you want basically is like you want to have category level of your logs, info, debug, kind of what we have seen when I have shown like what other tools used. I think there's a bunch of literature on what should be like the value used. And like, for example, people mention a lot, some other people mention me logger, LGR, which allow you to customize some of yours. And this is why it was used. And this was the people like that use MLR, which is like a framework for machine learning. MLR3 is one of them. Like, I mean, it's a framework on ecosystem. I never know how to label tools, but they use logger apparently. So, and then like you have the others. I have not spent too much time reading about that. This one also like is mentioned a bit.
Yeah, Lumberjack is pretty cool looking, at least. I think it's Stats Netherlands, and so you use a special pipe that I believe like gives you info about each step in the process. You can kind of see what changes you've made in a pipeline, if I remember correctly.
I have not spent track change in data. Oh, it track change in data process, but where?
So in that sense, it may not be a general logger. I think it's more for like mutation pipelines.
Yes. Yeah, this is where I learned about it. Okay. Anyway, this is another one. So how does they all work? Because they are OP, you basically like, I mean, even in Python it's similar. You instantiate the object. I never know to pronounce that correctly if it's the correct term. Like you create an object that has multiple methods, and then you call a method from here. And here it's a bit different. I imagine like where's this one? It should be like because if you look at here, where is it? Here, it's basically like calling a function that take the objects and pass an argument. I mean, pass some text. So, but the first element is the object you created. While I think this one is where does it start? You log it, and then I don't know. I assume like it was using a method, so I should spend time using it. I have not spent enough time using it.
There's a silly general question. Is like what happens if your script ends, or like it ends abruptly? Like, is there an on exit logging? Like you dump the log somewhere? 'Cause it seems like yeah.
I think it's highly depends on the implementation of the loggers. If the loggers is just appending to a file, then the file will still be here. And then you go back and read the log. Let's say like, let's go back here. We can try something here. So here the script, let's do, let's do 60. And then save it. Not I have just well, I can kill one, I guess. But I want, well, I just want a shell script. Perfect. Let's go inside of here to simplify my life. Then I'm gonna run a script, and I'm gonna run my script, which is a script. It was very smart. I'm gonna send the result of that script into Bob. And I never know the syntax, something like that, probably. No. To return everything into this is bash mess. So it's return like the standard error, and everything into the Bob. So if I should have been more if I go top, or just no, not top, just PS probably fine enough. I have not have like I have an R that's run somewhere. So what's the version of it? 4.5 kill 4594. Oh, come on. I'm gonna kill it, I assure you. Permission denied, so I don't have access to that profile. God, I want to kill it. Why can't I kill it? Oh, it's web. Why is because it's owned by. Oh, maybe it's this one I want to run. Sorry, I want to kill. Copy. Because with sudo I can't kill that shit. I'm sorry. Fast. No such process. I went to. Let's go back. Rerun it. Where is it? Oh, I type it. Our script. Our script. Scripts. Oh, because I kill my. I went. When I kill it, I went to. Oh, because I opened another shell. I'm stupid. I was in the. No, I opened another shell, so I was in the root of the project. A script. A script. Let's see if Bob was created, by the way. Well, I have a Bob. Very stupid stuff. Let's delete that. To trash. So let's go redirect that to Bob. Okay, sure, with plenty of B. Okay. Then let's go here. Let's go on top. Hopefully this is this process. I should have, I mean, I can look at Bob because the first stuff I print is that. So I can kill it. Copy. Should be fast. Kill. Let's see if I have the right to do that. And see it's stopped. Like no, my Bob stopped. Okay. But this is because like this is by design how it's work. So I like bash is reading from R and it's appending to a file and it's work like that. So to answer your question, if you do like some messaging on your script and the process die, and if it's correctly, like if you use the same similar method or a framework that's write to a file, the connection to the file should be closed, and you still have what's inside of the file.
Yeah,
But
seems
I
like
have
the
not
good
tested the
the good
framework.
way, or the old ways are the good ways here.
I mean, like a lot of the time, using our scripts or whatever is like is good, it's a good way, no? And appending to a file and redirecting everything. Like the only stuff that is bad with my way of doing it here is like you probably want to redirect the output layers somewhere and the error in another way, another places. Like it shouldn't be in the same
Yeah,
file.
fair point.
But as a demonstration, I think it does a good work, good job at demonstrating it. And usually, like you want to have like some kind of basically what I'm gonna write is like, let's go inside of that. I will write something like so slow today. Wait. Basically, like I want to do start. I mean, I will do something like sprintf. Please install VS Debugger. I don't want that. I'm good enough. Okay. So I'm gonna type start process. I don't know, cleaning data and data, and let's say like process. You can also like use like cleaning data at. Let's do something very simple. At done and I don't, and then you do and system. Time probably capital, yeah. Could learn from sprintf, yeah. If I don't have sprint f, it's not printf. I agree with you. Yes. Also, it's small s for string. See, and then it's gonna be logged as that. And basically, like a loggers, like if you start doing that for a long trip, it's gonna be painful because you're gonna write a lot of this kind of stuff, like this printf version of it. And you're gonna add code like all of this. Where's this level he mentioned, like where logs go? So he decided a bit, he discussed that a bit. But where the level, their level normally? Did he mention the level somewhere? I think he mentioned oh yeah, debug info. Like it's very good to adopt some kind of framework, so you are not all the time reinventing the wheel that I have done here. And also like it makes stuff easier to parse, because let's say like it worked for a long times. Also like they're gonna improve that, like like this the system, the basic format of system is kind of bad. Like what the heck is that? It's like it's 7, like what's the time zone? What's the it's depend of my machine, like the time zone depend of my machine. You don't want that, you want the time zone to be specified. But like if the code is just to be run on your machines, maybe it's fine, So yes, basically like and glue, like it was fine with just like adding just one object, but you may want like to add a bunch of other stuff, like warning, this table have X dimension and Y row. Like sprintf is good for one, but more you add, you should use glue, I think. And if you are using glue, like maybe specifically for logging, you can use a package that depend on it and build on it. That's my take. Okay. And so log, let's observing operation. We have used that. Let's like the log level. I don't think like there's much time to spend on it. I would say like critical should stop in some way, and not like, but it's depend. Like, do you want a long process to stop? Do you want a shiny app to stop, or do you want to have it a critical error logged so you can flag it quickly? Configuring log formats. as you see in my example, no, sorry, my example, where is it? Here, sorry. I use it like a text file, but you can also like send it in. Usually JSON is an option, and you can even write a bash script smarter than that. This is just a very it's really depends, and it's important. I like this stuff. Like, how long should you keep the log? And should, like, after a certain amount of time, should the log be split in multiple sublog, so when you are searching for it, it's easier. And if you, for example, if you use AWS produces a ton of logs, and they put it into an S3 bucket somewhere, and they are a pain in the ass to work with. But they kind of adapt a similar stuff at that, and then you can, like, yeah. And Python has some tool, R does not, and you recommend that you use log rate. I don't know. I have not investigated too much into it. Working on metrics, there you mentioned like you should use Grafana. Grafana is paid, even if they have like a free tier. And I would say like Prometheus, I mean, they are not that easy plugging. So for me, when you mention Prometheus and Grafana, there are easier way, like if you have a Shiny app, like you can just build something like check does my app is up. Is probably like, and if you are using AWS, I mean, if you are using some of the cloud services, they will have also some way of monitoring your services. It's depend, like, yeah, it's depend. Datadog, you mentioned also Datadog. So this is another company that monitors like logs. Okay, that was it. I spent way too much time on that. Do you have some question, remark? And I have not done the exercise, but I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna stop
I
sharing.
just wanted to add Sentry R package that lets you monitor on a Sentry
Sentry.
dashboard, and it's useful for other types of logging operations, but it's also useful particularly in Shiny app.
This one?
Yeah, this one. First one.
To be the same. So Sentry is so it's a wrapper on Sentry, and Sentry is so it's what was it Sentry apart getting the log. Code break, fix it filters, super. We'll dream of that.
So every time you have some kind of error warning, if you set it up correctly, it would show up on the dashboard. It would tell you what browser it happened. For example, if you're doing it on Shiny, sometimes the app doesn't look right on certain browsers. So it would report what browser the error happened and what was the version of the R that was running. So all of that information is right in the dashboard.
So basically, like, Sentry is connected to the clients, not to the servers.
It is
And
connected
then
to
the server's
the
producing
R
logs.
server. It's connected to the R
Servers,
server
yes,
that's running the Shiny
Yeah.
app. And on the dashboard, you can see whenever there's an error. I can actually show you if I quickly
Yeah, cool.
share
I'll
my
stop sharing.
screen.
Great.
So this is the example from the lab. This is for the Shiny app, still using the logger, but here I'm specifying the configuration for Sentry. And
Yeah.
then later, I'm using this function that I borrowed from Dan's example that uses logger. And then this is checking the browser information, the address, the IP address, And then within the error handler, this is getting the stack trace for the error that is happening in the Shiny app. And then
Okay.
with the capture function, you can send that information to the dashboard. And the dashboard is right here. So because this is an R project, you can create one project using the other category. And in this case, I ran the lab example where the whatever API should be running for the Shiny app to show the prediction. So I stopped the API, and in that case, the logger was not actually providing any more information. So with Sentry, it is telling us that the error that happened was this one. And you can see the stack trace right here. So this is all of the stack trace that we see in our console. And it
That's cool.
also provides more information about the browser that is used. Since this happened inside our studio, it's basically reporting all the browsers. I don't know what browser our studio is using, but this is what it's showing here. And it also provides information on the R version, the operating system. So here we can see that it's running on R, it's running on Linux, and there is more information about the operating system right here. So we get a lot of information whenever errors happen. And if they happen repeatedly, we can actually set it to send emails. If let's say the number of errors are 10 or more.
Oh, that's cool.
I think it's very useful. For personal projects, it's free.
Okay, but like the dashboard is hosted by Sentry.
Yeah, dashboard is set by Sentry. And there is
So,
also a
so you
Python
connect,
version. Sorry?
so you connect, so you create an account on Sentry.
Yeah, so you create a new project on Sentry
Yeah.
that gives you a Sentry DSN, and then you provide that DSN inside the configuration within the configure Sentry function. This is where you can provide Sentry.
The Sentry key, which here happen to be localhost on your computers.
Yeah.
Okay.
And Sentry also has Python package that you can use. So this is coming from the same lab example for the Python, Shiny for Python app. And here actually it provides a much more detailed information, tells you exactly what line of code produced that.
Yeah.
There's a much better report here.
So let's review like the architecture. So you create an application on Sentry. You create an account on Sentry.
Right?
First, then inside of this account, you create a project on a specific project for your Shiny app.
Yeah.
You
So
have
if I
some
go
credential
Like
on
go
your
to the-
clients, which here happen to be, and on your server, which here happen to be your computers. You are having like the Sentry key on your environment somewhere.
Yeah.
And the package is getting that.
Yes.
The information, so the log is produced somewhere, and this is the logs that are sent to Sentry displayed in the dashboard. Did I get it correctly?
Right. Exactly.
Okay.
But it obviously depends on how much information we are sending to Sentry. So Dan's example that he also shared in the channel, that was very useful because it provides this error handler. And this function has the Shiny print stack trace function. Where he used this to report whatever was the error and the complete stack trace. And furthermore, we are getting the message from utils package. And then this is reported using the capture function from Sentry. So here we provide what would be the message. So that's the heading that we see in the error. So
I'm not even sure like it's serialized to a file. No, you just send the information through the network as in memory. I mean the memory. Because I don't see you writing to any kind of file, or maybe it's down somewhere. I don't know.
Yeah, it's not written to the file directly. In this case, it's just directly sent to Sentry.
Okay.
using the capture function.
So so R is called somewhere. It generates some logs, and these logs are sent. I still don't get all the logs are quotes, but yeah.
So the logs that we are getting are through the error handler. In this case,
Oh,
only capturing the error. So whenever an error happens, this error handler function will first get that information from R and
Yeah.
then send it to Sentry using the Sentry R package.
Okay. Okay, got you. Cool, that was nice.
Yeah, I think it's very useful.
We are good to go. Should I stop? Does anyone have question, remark? So logging, do it. It's not hard. I think everyone is good, so I'm stopping.